they do this? How do they access this podcast?
On YouTube, Trending Tuesday podcast. Trending Tuesday podcast.
Every Tuesday we're setting the tone. Latest trends, let it be known. Voices rising, stories unfold. Thought-provoking, fresh and bold. From the mic to the movement we bring. Conversations that matter, hear wisdom sing. Insight, purpose, food for the soul. This is the place where ideas grow. It's Trending Tuesday. Tune in, stay ready. Inspiration served hot, call it mostly green. With Chef Eddie. Redefining podcast, changing the way we speak. Real talk, real life, every single week. Yeah. Oh, organic living, mind and play. Healthy conversations that elevate. From the kitchen to the culture we see. Growth, wellness, and authenticity. Laugh, learn, and be entertained. Meaningful dialogue, never the same. If it's trending, if it's true, we're bringing it straight to you. It's Trending Tuesday. Tune in, stay ready. Inspiration served hot, call it mostly greens. With Chef Eddie. Redefining podcast, changing the way we speak. Real talk, real life, every single week. Yeah. Sponsored by Danny Davis and Katie at TC, building community. Yeah. Inspiring change.
Another edition of Trending Tuesdays. We have our live studio audience in the building. Give it up, live studio audience. Yes, yes, yes. And I am back from a little hiatus, but I'm back, but not, unfamiliar with what we're about to do. We're about to have some great conversation here today with some special guests and panelists on today. We're going to be discussing some things. But before we get started with the meat of our conversation today, I want to give a huge shout out to the best high school in the world. I'm talking about like no other. There is no other school with the legacy, the tradition, the pride, the resilience of the Jack Yates High School.
JY for life. JY for life.
Jack Yates High School this past Sunday, February the 8th, celebrated 100 years. That's right, 100 years of Jack Yates being a pillar in the community. So for all of you that are in the building today, or all of you that are watching, if you attended school at 2610 Elgin, like my grandfather in the 20s did, or in his brothers and sisters, or my dad and his brothers and sisters, and myself and my cousins at 3703 Sampson, or if you got kids, because some of y'all I know ain't in school no more, but you may have some kids, grandkids at 3650 Alabama. The legacy of Jack Yates is strong, and so I know one of my panelists, wait a minute, did you go to Jack Yates?
No, you know how it is. It's those that went to Jack Yates and those that wish they did.
Okay. All right. Well, I know at least one of our panelists went to Jack Yates High School, man. But you know, when you think about the legacy and the history, the storied history of Jack Yates High School, coming out. I mean, 60 years. Think about it. 60 years post-Emancipation Proclamation, this school was founded. And we saw, our ancestors, those that went through Jack Yates High School, and if you go over to Ryan Middle School, which is where the first Jack Yates High School location was, there's a marker that's still there on the building that memorializes Jack Yates High School. And so I encourage everybody to go stop by there. But what I was about to say is, you think about all the things that went on pre-Great Depression, post-Great Depression. I'm talking about Ku Klux Klan at its height. I'm talking about Jim Crow, segregation policies. I mean, all these things that happened, civil rights movement, everything, and Yates still stands 100 years as of this past Sunday. And so we're in the midst of our next 100 years, right now. So we're going to be celebrating all year long. We have some amazing activities. We're going to be doing a centennial celebration walk that'll be coming up, a major picnic that we'll invite all alumni and community out to, and of course our big gala, which will be October the 31st of this year at now it's called the Community Collective. It used to be the Power Center, but we'll have countless individuals coming. This year's theme to celebrate our centennial is honoring our legacy, investing in the future. And so we're investing in our young people, raising money. We're raising $100,000 for the 100 years, and we're going to be providing scholarships and other needs for not only those students, but for the school. So anyway, had to do that because that was very important, because there is no other school like the Jack Yates High School. Class of 91, best class ever. Anyway, let's get into it, y'all. The 18th Congressional District. Been a lot going on with the 18th Congressional District. There was just a special election that took place, and of course, out of the candidates that were vying for that seat to finish out the term that was vacated by Sylvester Turner's passing in January of last year, was Christian Menifee and Amanda Edwards. And Christian Menifee overwhelmingly won this race and came out victorious. So he is now the congressman for the current TX 18, Congressional District 18. And so let's give him a huge round of applause on his victory. And also let's give Miss Amanda Edwards a round of applause for her valiant efforts in seeking to want to serve to fill those shoes. Now we're in the midst of another situation. I mean, just weeks after the special election, and we have no one to blame than our good friend in Austin, Texas, Greg Abbott. Governor Greg Abbott could have held this special election back in May of last year. He could have held this election back, well, it was held in November, but he pushed out the special election until January, and he did that intentionally. Let's not sugarcoat it. He did it intentionally, and so now we're here. So after this special election that just took place January the 31st, now February the 17th, we began early voting for the new TX 18. So everybody that came out and voted overwhelmingly for our new Congressman, Christian Menifee, and those that voted for Amanda Edwards, those individuals won't be voting, or at least a lot of those individuals won't be voting in the upcoming, well, some of those people that were voting in TX 18's old map for this special election will be coming back out voting in an entirely different election. And that's sad, because there's some things we need to understand here. It's not, there's a lot of people who are saying, man, and we'll get into this because I know a lot of y'all have a lot to say about this, but I want to kind of preface it by saying, a lot of people are saying, now that you have 4 people in this race, and another thing I want to explain to people, because this is very important, because education on these matters is extremely important. It can be extremely confusing, y'all. And so with that, they had a deadline to file to run for the primary to see who was going to be the Democratic nominee, and that was December the 8th. The special election was January 31st. Nobody knew what the outcome was going to be of the special election, right? And so when you think about it, they were taking a chance. So they had to file, because what if you win and you didn't file to run for the primary? You the congressman up until December the 31st, and people be like, how stupid are you? You didn't file to run in the primary. You follow me? And so that had to be done. So there are a lot of people that are saying, oh, now that Amanda Edwards has lost, she should just drop out of the race. Now, she suspended her campaign, but she couldn't remove her name from the ballot because she filed. And you only have 24 hours to state that you want your money back, because you have to pay a filing fee, and that you don't want to run in that particular primary election. That didn't happen because, again, she filed on December the 8th, had until December the 9th, or everyone. The election was January 31st. She didn't know whether she was going to lose or win, so she did what needed to be done. I would have done it, everybody else here would have done it. So that's important to preface as we have this conversation. Another thing is there are a lot of people who are like, oh, you know, Al Green, you know, why don't he just, you know, retire? Why don't he just go away and give it over? The people have decided. The people have chosen Christian Menifee. That's who they want. They want to go with someone younger. They want to go with someone that. And there's some arguments that have all, I mean, it's all over the place. People are talking about that. And I'm sure we'll get into some of that today. But it wasn't Al Green's fault or Christian Menifee's fault that Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Republicans chose to completely redistrict and remove so many areas. And I want to say this, and I'll jump to my first speaker. TX9 lost 97% of its voting population. 97% was removed from Texas 9, and who was the congressman, or is the congressman for TX9? Congressman Al Green. So the majority of that, 2/3 of that TX9 has now moved into TX18. So you got Southwest Houston, you have Chasewood, Briargate, Ridgemont, Ridgegate, you have Southwest Crossing, you have Quail Run, Quail Glen, Missouri City, all of it, Sienna, Fresno, all of that now is in TX18, and they've always been represented, at least since he's been in office, by Congressman Al Green. So those are important things for us all to know as we have this conversation. And this is not a pro-Al Green or a pro-Christian Menifee. Al Green has done so much for me as a congressman in Missouri City, helped to pay for street name changes from racist street names, brought $5 million to help me to, in my district, get the Metro parking garage, $60 million done. He helped me get an easement removed, that we are allowed to now build Freedom Tree Park that'll be finished this year. So he's someone that I respect and has done a lot for me. Christian Menifee has done a lot in this community. He's done a lot as the Harris County attorney. And he fought Greg Abbott. He fought Ken Paxton. He fought Donald Trump. So he's an advocate as well. And he's, of course, my frat brother, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Saying, right?
So this is a very, very, very tough decision. But it's a decision that TX18 voters, which now I am one, have to make. And so that leads me into our conversation. We have some special guests today. We have none other than State Representative Ron Reynolds, TX27, District 27, who now you're in TX18 as well. Then we have none other than Dr. Carolyn Evans Shabazz, Councilwoman of the District of Destination. Are we in the District of Destination right now?
We
okay.
absolutely.
In District D, Houston City Council, and of course we have none other than, he really needs no introduction, but former president of Texas Southern University, dean of the Thurgood Marshall Law School. I'm talking about none other than the Dr. James Douglas, y'all. So I'll start with the elder statesman first, Dr. Douglas. If you could just chime in on, the decisions that impacted this particular, TX18 and 19 by Governor Greg Abbott.
Okay, now.
I mean, what did I say?
19, you meant.
Yeah, TX18 and 9, thank you.
Okay. You said earlier that Representative Al Green had been the representative for 9 since he had been a congressman. He's also been the representative of this Congressional 9 since it has been in existence.
Oh, yeah.
All right, he's the only person who's ever been a congressman for 9. When you talk about basically what they did in Austin, was they basically changed the name of 9 to 18, because 2/3 of the people who are going to vote start in February, were in 9. All right, the majority of the people in 18 now came from 9. So most people who voted for Christian Menifee won't be able to vote in 18. All right? I'm telling you, 2/3 of the people who are going to vote for Congressional District 18 voted last time in 9. So it's really not moving. Not only they move Al Green, they move the whole district.
Yeah. Dr.
Right.
Dr. Carolyn Everett Shabazz, your thoughts on what Greg Abbott did and created this mess?
Well, I'm going to have to just be honest, too. It's not all just Greg Abbott. It's the voters. That's why there is a Greg Abbott. So we have to own it as well, that we have allowed his leadership to continue. And we have an opportunity now to discontinue it, but are we engaged? And I think that that's something that we have to look at. But certainly, he got his mandate from the occupant in the White House. And I feel some kind of way, because we know that Al Green stood up to ask for the impeachment of the occupant. And of course, Jasmine Crockett has been very verbal. So it is not by chance that their districts have been redistricted. Let me get it out.
Yeah.
Have been changed, right?
Changed to redistricting. We all have these phone calls today.
Anyway, it's by no accident. And so he's really trying to erase their leadership. And I feel some kind of way. I mean, I love Christian Menifee, and certainly, we have heard a lot of things about the age of Al Green. Well, I don't like sexism, I don't like racism, and I don't like ageism, where you just choose whether a person is too old or too young, because it works both ways to decide their leadership. And then they say, well, Sylvester Turner died, and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee died. Well, last I checked, cancer does not care about your age. And so to just assume that you're a certain age, that you're not going to live, and neither of them suffered from dementia, and they served until they died. So I feel some kind of way. I am very angry that this is even happening. People are so confused, and it's just really, really unfair, but people need to know that do not believe when election time comes up, don't say, well, I already voted. Because you have not, no one other than those that have sent in ballots, mail-in ballots, no one has voted in this new race for the March 3rd primary. And to be clear, this March 3rd primary means that the person who wins will serve a full term starting in January. Whereas Christian Menifee won, and if he does not win, he only serves until the end of this year. So as confusing as it is, you're going to have to educate up and understand that this is a different time, but certainly take the opportunity that we have to change the leadership that made these chaotic decisions. And I'm not just saying Greg Abbott, because he didn't vote to redistrict by, that came through the legislature. And so be sure that the people that are sitting there made those decisions to redistrict, to try to put us in this chaotic, no, not to try to, but to put us in this chaotic situation.
Well, State Rep, you were sitting there, well, at least for a portion of it before you left.
Until I jetted out.
Until you jetted up out of there. Wanted by the police.
Yeah.
They put that warrant on y'all, man. So, you guys left and broke quorum. So you were in the midst of it all. So you knew what was coming. Now it's here. What are your overall thoughts on it, and what is, your thoughts on this current confusing time that we're experiencing?
Well, I want to echo everything that was previously stated, and I would add that this is certainly Governor Abbott. I'm glad you pointed that out. He owns a lot of responsibility, but it started at the top. President Trump said, I need 5 seats. He didn't mince his words. He was very emphatic about 5 seats. And he had sent a letter from his Department of Justice identifying the seats that they had concerns about. And so they had already decided that they were going to target Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. They were going to pair Mark Vesey. They were going to pair the 9th and the 18th. And for those who don't know, I think we should let them know, just like you talked about the history of Yates, the 18th Congressional District is a historic district that was once held by the late, great Barbara Jordan. She was the first African-American elected to Congress since Reconstruction from the South. It was only because of the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, because she had ran previously unsuccessful. So this district had, Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Craig Washington up until Sheila Jackson Lee and her untimely death, followed by Congressman Sylvester Turner and his untimely death. And then Erica Lee Carter, Sheila's daughter, held it for a brief stint until Sylvester Turner was sworn in, and unfortunately he passed away. So this is a very historic seat. They knew what they were doing, as Dean Douglas said, that this 65%, 2/3 of the new 18th is the current 9. Basically, it would have been, on paper, it would have made more sense for them to say Congressional District 9, because that's what most of the district is.
Right.
Okay? Like, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the facts. I was a part of the maps, and the maps are what they are. 65%. Most of the people, as you stated, who voted in the special election, they won't be able to vote in the new 18th. They'll be in 29 or some other district, but they won't be in 18. So they intentionally did this to silence Congressman Al Green, because he has been a fierce advocate against President Trump. His most recent encounter was when he raised his cane at the State of the Union, and the president was really pissed off about it, and other Republicans, and Congressman Green was censured. Long story short, they made a decision, my colleagues, that they had a mandate from President Trump that they had to do this. Now, for those who don't know, we typically just do redistricting every 10 years after we receive and complete a census. This was a unusual, very rare mid-decade redistricting. These things don't happen because we didn't have any data. We had just did redistricting before, where this had actually attempted to come up where they were going to pair the 9th and the 18th, for those who don't know. We fought like hell to change that. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, all of us were on the same page. I was chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, and we fought, and we changed it. The 2 districts stayed intact. Long story short, they said, no, we can't change it this time. We have our marching orders. Al Green has to go. Jasmine Crockett has to go. The people that had been on the front line speaking truth to power the loudest, they wanted to get rid of them. And so that's what they did. They moved Al Green into the 18th. And so, Jeff, my thing is, we cannot be silent about this. Silence is complicity. We celebrate Black History Month. They're trying to take us back. This was a racial gerrymander. This was voter suppression. They're doing everything they can to disenfranchise Texas, African American, and Latino voters. We have more African Americans in Texas than any other state. We should have more congressional representation, not less. So what they did was dilute our voter populations to put all of our concentration of population into one district, so we wouldn't be able to have 2 African American opportunity seats. They did the same thing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I'm very upset about this, not just because it's pitting Congressman Al Green and Congressman Christian Menifee, but because our community is going to have less representation when we should have more. This is turning back the clock. That's all a part of Project 2025. Their intention is to maintain power by any means necessary, and they will do it by what they call packing and cracking. That's a redistricting term of art. Black and brown communities, so that they put them in an area where they can only elect a few, as opposed to their true demographic representation.
And I was going to say also, because I tell people, one of the things they did was they pitted blacks against blacks and blacks against browns.
That's
Because if you
correct.
look at what they did to Sylvia's district, it's going to be a black-brown fight over on that,
That's
on
right.
that side
Yeah.
of town.
Oh, that was all by design.
Right.
And then, as a wake-up call, why did the occupant in the White House, I just can't call him that, why did he need 5 seats? That's because he, in my opinion, he is trying to make sure that there can be an amendment for him to serve another term. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is, without a congressional vote, he cannot run another term because the Constitution says he cannot. But if you can get people to occupy seats that will vote to amend the Constitution, then we could be in a position that he is the president not only for a 3rd term, but as many terms as he deems he wants to serve. So let's be very, very clear. That, I believe, is the bottom line.
But,
Well, I was going to say,
now-
I hear people oftentimes make statements like, "Oh man, that'll never happen. They'll never get away with that," and we're seeing in real time that he's getting away with a whole lot, and he's doing it in plain sight, and nobody. Well, I'm not saying nobody's not saying anything. Nobody that can stop him, meaning the Republicans, they're not saying anything. They're turning a blind eye, at least publicly. Behind closed doors, they're upset and mad because he's hurting their polling and their ability to get reelected. We see 2 recent races, one in Louisiana and then one in Texas, where Trump won by 17 points, and that seat got flipped. 31-point swing, where this union machinist,
Right.
labor leader, won in a pro-Trump district because people are tired and they're fed up, and people are saying, you know what, y'all may not stop them, but we gonna stop them at the ballot box, and that's why voting is so important.
Right, and I was going to say, he also knows that he's going to be in trouble in November. And he had to have as many strong Republican districts as he could create. Because he knew if he left things as they were, there's no way he would have a house come November.
I wanted to read this to you because I want everybody to kind of understand the severity of how things changed. TX9, which was a majority, minority, mostly black district that, is, because it's still the same way configuration-wise. The only thing people are voting on now is what will happen in 27 as far as when that representation starts. But right now, Al Green is still the TX9 congressman until December, the end of the year. So areas that got added to TX9 were Magnolia Park, a lot of East Harris County cities. You got Baytown, Deer Park, Pasadena.
Oh, man.
A lot of black folks there, huh? A lot of Democrats there, right? and heavily Republican Liberty County. I served on the Houston Galveston Area Council with the Liberty County judge, and he'll tell you it's very red in Liberty County. So I just want us all to understand how severe this change has been, drastic, and now they're putting us all together and kind of, was it cracking and packing? Yeah. Oh, there's the map up there. Okay. So you see, if you look around on the TV screens, you'll see those are the changes.
And remember, the governor says he's got a pot of money that he's going to have the president make sure he changes Harris County.
Yes.
And that's the 18th congressional district.
Yeah. But you know what? Sometimes when people try to do things to harm you,
What the devil means
yeah, for bad, you know,
That
God
part.
will turn around
That
and
part.
use it
good.
for your good. So I don't know if you've been paying attention and following, because you know Trump has already did the same thing with other southern states, particularly to try to get them to do the exact same thing that Texas did. Because you know Texas is always the litmus test.
Yep.
You know, it all starts with Texas. If it can go in Texas, then we can just copy and paste it elsewhere. And so I know they're doing it trying to do it in Georgia and Arkansas, but in Virginia is looking to now change it such, and I think that they got passage for it. I got to just get the update that they're going to now have only one Republican district. And that they now redistricted, so it is all Democrats, and they'll have just one.
Remember California now.
And then Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
He did the darn thing.
They level set at Texas and did 5 Democrat seats. And the crazy part about it, the hypocrisy is the Trump Justice Department, they were successful in overturning the lower court that said that Texas maps were racially discriminatory in violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and they should be struck down. The U.S. Supreme Court reversed it. They tried to then do the opposite in California to get rid of theirs, and the Supreme Court thankfully rejected it. But California will have now 5 new Democrat seats, and they're really with the voters that you were just talking about, and the unpopular opinion of the president based on his policies, whether it's ICE raids or anti-DEI, you know, I could go on and on. I mean, you know, nobody's eggs have went down, inflation up, these tariffs. Well, now these Hispanics, that they were overwhelmingly Hispanic men that voted for Trump, they are now saying, well, wait a minute now. I mean, they're killing, you know, legal Americans. I may not stand a chance. So now what they were banking on may not happen with these 5 seats that they did for Texas. So I think it's going to backfire on them, Jeff. I think that there's going to be a real come to Jesus moment. The chickens come home to roost in November. I think Democrats will regain the House. They'll likely be the first African-American speaker. Trump has already said, if the Democrats win, I'm going to get impeached. So, yeah, let's impeach him.
Yeah.
One of the things they're coming to understand, and I never used this term until I heard Mexicans use it, and that is they assumed that immigration was only coming after what they call the wetbacks.
Yeah.
Now they understand they coming after all of them.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
And I think that something, you know, I just want to emphasize, I did look it up. So currently, Virginia Republicans hold 5 out of the 11 seats. But the proposed map that's being proposed right now by Democrats would give Democrats 10 seats and Republicans 1. And there's a legal challenge going on right now, of course, from Republicans. And if they're successful in moving forward, then people in Virginia will be voting on that proposed map on April 21st. And so now you talk about a shift.
Yep.
You know, and you already got California, largest state in the union. And now you're talking about other Democratic states. You just opened up Pandora's box.
Right.
And you can't put this genie back in the bottle. And so, you know.
Oh, and one of the most, I would say, it was just so touching. Indiana was a Republican state. Trump said, hey, I need this. There was a lot of pushback from the citizens and other people across the country. Well, guess what? Indiana rejected. They did what Governor Abbott didn't have the balls to do. They said, no, we're not going to do this mid-decade redistricting. So Indiana could have drawn another 2 or 3 Republican seats. That's what they had devised from Mar-a-Lago and sit down to Indiana, and they said no.
So let me ask you all this question. Let's just get to it on this matter. How do we better educate our community on how these things impact them? I mean, you know, we look at things that have happened, HISD takeover. We think about this redistricting or redistricting. And it happened in for the 2020 redistrict, or at least from the census, y'all broke quorum then too.
21, yeah.
In 2021. So these things are happening, but we continue to stay at home. A majority of us stay at home. I'm talking about black folks.
Yeah.
Stay at home and make statements like, man, they gonna do what they gonna do anyway, or my vote don't matter, or, you know, and I can understand how some people feel this way. I was with who may very well be the next governor of Texas, Gina Hinojosa, on today. And one of the questions that I asked her was, I was like, you know, in your platform, you know, we're challenged with trying to get, you know, the million some odd black people that did not vote in the last election, registered voters that did not vote in the last election, to the polls. I said, what are you going to do, and what can we do as a whole? Because there's so many competing interests in the Democratic Party. And, you know, let's face it, you're Latina. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you need the black vote, though, in order to win. And also all of the down ballot, you know, candidates need the black vote to win. So what are you going to do to ensure that the black issues are at the forefront, seeing that we're such dominant Democratic voters? We show up to the polls, but we could do so in a greater fashion. What can we do, y'all, to encourage that? Hell, if we even got a half of that million to get to the polls.
You know, I always say, and I like to use the example of the dog that's sitting on the nail. You heard that old joke?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and tell it, though. Some people haven't heard it.
Well, this guy moves into this neighborhood, and the first day he's walking to work. And he sees this dog. The dog is sitting on the porch. He's moaning and groaning, but he doesn't move. The next day, it's the same thing. He walks by this house, the dog's sitting on the porch. He's moaning and groaning, but he won't move. So on the third day, when he's walking by and the dog is moaning and groaning, the owner of the house comes out. And he says to the owner, he says, your dog is moaning and groaning. He said, do you know what's wrong with him? He said, yes. He said, what? He said, he's sitting on a tack. He said, well, why doesn't he move? He said, because it doesn't hurt bad enough. So that's one of our problems. We got too many people who moan and groan, but it doesn't hurt bad enough so that they get up and do something about it. So I used to always say, we have to figure out a way how to convince these people to get off of that tack.
And what is that, though?
I don't know. Otherwise,
Come on, old wise one. Y'all know you got the answer.
I tell you this. All right, you talk about Hinojosa. The last time Texas won anything statewide, we had coordinated campaign. See, right now, we got a lot of people out there running, but they're running individually. Remember when Morris Overstreet and Ann Richards and all those people got elected? They all worked together. Texas is huge. One person can't carry the whole state. You got to have help at every portion. You got to have somebody in West Texas that's running maybe for Attorney General, somebody in East Texas that's running for maybe
Land commissioner,
or maybe one of the Supreme Court positions. You got to have somebody in Midland area running for governor. So and these people have to all be working together, because if I build up a campaign staff in West Texas, I can help the other people.
Yeah.
Rather than having any host to try to build up campaign all around the state. One person can't do it. Until we Democrats get together and start working together, we're never going to get anybody elected.
But it goes back to the competing interests, Ron. I mean, you not only culturally, but we got issue-based factions as well as part of, and I'm speaking about the Democratic Party. So, I mean, you are part of it, heavy. So talk to me, talk to us.
You know, that is a great question, and it's very puzzling. There's no one size fits all. No one has a magic wand or else it'll be done. I think one of the things that we have to do is to meet people where they are. Like, if I'm talking to young people and I'm talking to them about the importance of voting, and I'm talking about, well, you know, there was a time when people couldn't vote and they died for your right to vote, that doesn't move them. I've had these conversations. What moves them, if I talk about legalizing marijuana, if I talk about free college tuition, if I talk about raising the minimum wage, if I talk about issues that impact them as opposed to impact issues that they don't really find to be relevant. So I think we have to do a better job of getting out of our comfort zones and our silos and going into the barbershops, going into the CUNY homes in your district, and really going into Fifth Ward and Acres Home. And a lot of times we're talking to people, you know, as a candidate, the same old people are at the forums. That those people are going to vote anyway. Mm-hmm. And most of them are going to vote for the people that they were already going to vote for before they came to the forum. So we have to get outside of our comfort zone, outside of the burbs and outside of the lands, woodland, sugarland, pearland, and really go back into the neighborhoods and meet people where they are. And really, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Like, a lot of times I'm talking to them, they don't care about us, no way. They're all the same. What's the difference? So when you start drilling down, I can tell you that, and you show them consistently why you care about their issues, then they'll go out and vote. I've seen that in my own campaigns where people didn't have anything else on the ballot, but I went to go vote for you because I want to see you reelected, because when I needed something, you were there. When we had COVID, you did this or that. So I think we need to have a real engagement of our black community. And then the same thing with the Latino community, because a lot of times rich people, you don't have to remind them to have food drives and souls to the polls. They're voting because they want these tax breaks. They want to continue to get this corporate welfare. We got to give people incentives on why elections matter. Because a lot of times I tell these young people, you know who appoints the police chief? It's the city council and the mayor. You know how the district attorneys is there? Because they're elected. Do you know how we get, increase in the minimum wage? The legislative body. Do you know how we decide how many exams people are going to have to take in school? It's the legislature. So you have to make it plain. A lot of times, like, oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how we get the police chief. So if you think there's racial profiling, then you need to go and talk to your city council members who have oversight over the police chief. So I think we need to do a better job of really making it plain, and then making sure that we get using more of the influencers. They can influence people to go to concerts and restaurants and movies. Why can't we get them to do more when it comes to voting?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, totally. Ron hit the nail on the head. It has to become relevant. You should have seen the faces of this audience when I indicated that the man in the White House, the whole objective is for him to get another term. Boy, you all look like a light came on, because we're under a dictatorship, whether you know that or not. And so the only way we're going to change this is if we change, if we are the change. And certainly, I mean, but I tell you, I'm one of those, I'm just going to break it on down. I want people to vote, but I want you to be an educated voter. Yeah, right. I don't want you, if you ain't voting for the right one, I want you to stay at home. I'm just going to keep it real. I don't want you up there just voting, okay? I mean, hey, let's just break it down. But certainly, and if you don't have time to educate yourself on the voters, then get a trusted organization that can certainly give you information on the candidates. People are so busy, and they really don't take the time to look at the candidates to see if they represent them. And so it has to become relevant. When you tell young people that your income could change and get better because of the people that you vote for. When you find out that policies can change in regards to the police, then, you may think differently. And I'm going to tell you, I've gotten to the point that I'm seeing all this going on. It's a little card that you can get with your passport that says that it's a global entry card. Mm-hmm. I keep it in my purse so that if I have to prove that I am an African American, because some people might say, they look at me and I'm
a
sister from the trade. Okay, yeah, I'm telling you.
Paper bag tip.
But what's over my mouth, they can pretty much tell. This is a sister from Third Ward, Texas, right? And so certainly relevance is the bottom line. And podcasts such as this, which aren't big enough, if people could just hear some of the things we're talking about today. But we have a responsibility to educate people. Those that know need to make sure that others know. And so, and if, there are some races that have only been decided by a few votes. But people are very disheartened because I'm one of those, and I've said it on this podcast before, that last presidential election, in my opinion, was stolen. So people are like, if they're going to steal the race, and they're going to change the numbers and do whatever those things are to win, then what do I do? But certainly, you just have to get out there, get the message out there, get the people out there who really have your heart. I'm a person that believes that you need to be able to have the skill to let people know you really care about them. You have to have the common touch. Because if you don't have the common touch, I can't really believe that you have my best interests at heart. And so the candidates themselves have to look at the way that they engage with the voters. I go to the grocery store, I get hugs, whatever. Can you take my picture? It's an honor for me. It's an honor for me that you're going to take my picture, and it may go on Facebook or whatever. Hopefully it won't have any arrows or anything in it. But certainly, it's the candidates too. They have to be prepared to make sure that they embrace people and let them know that I have your best interests at heart. So it's a big, big question, and one that I wish we could just have one answer to, but it's just not. It was done this way for it to be chaotic, so we couldn't really come up with one answer. But I say do it all, whatever we need to do by any means necessary to change the climate of this country.
Yeah, but young kids see Trump in the White House, and they ask themselves, what does it take? I mean, this man lies all the time. You look at his character. You say, what does it take to become president of the United States?
I mean, hey, listen, we're living in a twilight zone, right? How about we're living in the twilight zone? Y'all probably too young to remember the twilight zone, in the black and white twilight zone. But I think about just how disengaged, and I don't know if I've shared this story on this podcast, but something disheartening happened when I ran in this past election, and it hurt me, honestly. And when I tell people this story, they don't believe me, some of them, but this actually happened. I was knocking on doors in predominantly African-American subdivision neighborhood, and 65-year-old, I would just say roughly, African-American female answered the door, and I introduced myself, shared my background, my credentials, my vision, and asked for their vote. Now this is in Missouri City, Texas, I'm speaking of. And the lady said, wait a minute, you running for what again? And I said, I'm running for mayor. And she said, oh no, I can't vote for you. I'm like, oh man, well why? And she said, I like Turner. And I said, Turner? I know she ain't talking about Sylvester Turner. Now keep in mind, this is in October of last year. He passed away in January And not only did he pass away in January, he wasn't even the mayor of Houston anymore, let alone on the earth. But she thought that she had him as her mayor. So what'd that tell you? Two things. One, not engaged in voting and hadn't voted. Because had you voted, you would have known that Sylvester Turner was not your mayor and that he's never been your mayor. And so I know it seems laughable, but it's real. There's a lot of people out here, y'all, that don't know what's going on. Let's keep it real. Y'all got family. You know some of your big mamas, some of you know, seniors in your community. Some people don't know who to vote for. Who they come to? They come to you. Baby, who should I vote for? Some of my constituents, they don't know who to vote for.
All the time.
They come to me. And I share information with them because they trust me.
Right.
But what about the people that are not trustworthy that are giving them this information?
But that's not, African Americans not the only one that don't know.
Oh, no, it's not
I give an
mutually
example.
exclusive to black folks. No, I know. But this is a
March-
real story.
Real story. March of 64. I'm running for president of student government, and my roommate is running for vice president of student government. We had bumper stickers made up. Douglas for president, Bridges for vice president. I'm downtown. I'm getting ready to get in my car. I got this big Douglas Bridges bumper. This white guy walks up to me and he says, are you all in the Democratic or the Republican primary?
Yeah. Yeah. And some people
But
don't
you
know
running
what a
for- you running
primary is.
No, see,
Some
what I'm
people
saying,
don't know what a primary is.
the whole point of this conversation that I'm leading us in right now is the fact that a lot of people don't know.
They don't know.
And
Right.
we don't need to assume
That's right.
that they know.
Right.
We can't beat them across the head for not voting when they may not even know who or what to vote for. They don't know the process for voting. And then also, there are things that are being done now that if you haven't voted in the last, one or two elections,
They
purge you.
Right.
So you may not even know that you on the voter rolls.
And there's no shame in asking.
And
If you don't know, ask.
And they may purge you even if you vote. I have been purged. And I've had to call, well, we made a mistake.
Yeah, see.
So they just purge people.
So I just want us to really, as a community, look, we're community leaders, elected officials, whatever, but you're community leaders too. Because you're in your community, you don't have to have a title to be effective. But once you get a title, be effective. And so I think it's imperative for us to educate our community, each one.
Teach one.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and toss it to Danette Davis and take a quick break, y'all.
All
Trending
right.
Tuesdays. We'll be back.
All right, trendingtuesdays.com. I told Jeff, I said, now we need you to say hit subscribe to the channel, if you will, so we can grow this thing. I'm looking at this audience. I'm so glad to see all of you out here. These folk, I hope you're being informed community, as you should. And I think, Jeff, toward the end, if your panel doesn't mind, we may have a little Q&A toward the end. When you guys come back. I want to tell you I'm Danette Davis, and K. Davis in the Community Foundation is a nonprofit, but we feel like part of our job as in the community is to keep the community informed and to bring folk in. These folk, guys, a lot of times you can't just roll up on these folk like you are tonight, right? So we bring them up close and personal, and we'll have a little, after we're done, there's a little bit of reception or what have you, so you can actually talk to them and that kind of thing. This is Letitia, who works with the office. I think one of the things we just want to let you know, which is coming, you see this sign over here, guys. You see K's Closet. K's Closet is, see, the old school name for it was what, resale shop? But see, now they call it
a boutique?
No, they call it when you go
Thrifting?
when you go out
Thrifting?
Thrifting. I'm told is the new word. So one of the things that we're doing, it'll be a pop-up here next week. I think last week we had some folk that came, tried to buy us out in the art. And so we're not really tonight necessarily unless you see something you want, what have you, but the art that you see and things like that are part of what we're doing. But those dollars, because they don't cost a whole lot, when something is $2 and $5, and then those dollars go into the community and people are able to actually afford things. I find we think people don't need things. That's not true. And I think for those, much is given, then much should be shared, is what I want to say. Now, we've got a couple of people in the audience. Since this is a political night, Arnetta Murray, what have you, you're there, but Arnetta, there's a couple of people who are actually running for office. And I wanted to give you just a minute, if you guys could keep it to a few minutes. There I'm supposed to introduce, there's Vernon Lewis, who's running for, he's running for, I'm gonna let him tell you, but it's a Democratic primary election. And then I have, look at me, going for my notes. Karen Reeder. Now, Karen's out in Brazoria County. And y'all, when we see folk that look like us in Brazoria, we need to whoop, whoop, or what have you, and listen to them. Because most of us don't even know who our elected officials are, let's be honest. If you're not in Houston, you're in Pearland and some of those other folk, you don't even know who's running. So we need to do a better job. I heard you guys. So I'm going to give them just a few minutes with the mic. Thanks.
All righty, good evening, everybody. My name is Vernon Middleton Lewis. I'm running to be precinct chair for 140. That's Riverside Terrace and Parkwood neighborhood. But before we kind of talk about my election for coming up March 3rd and early voting starting February 17th, I am the youngest city treasurer for the city of Houston. For those who don't know what the treasury does, we're responsible for 3 aspects. The investment for the entire city of Houston, so that's $6 billion that we do internally, as well as $15 billion of debt. So all these capital projects you see that's happening in this large city, the city of Houston, my job is to make sure I manage the entire debt. And then the one last function is the banking system. So being the city treasurer, I'm the youngest in history and the youngest African American, so that's foremost. And the second, I just decided to say, you know what, I want to run for precinct chair. The idea is, of course, accountability, transparency, but voter engagement, to get folks off the vote. We just looked at this wonderful panel that talked about voter engagement and how a lot of folks that really don't know what's going on. I walked the neighborhood of 3rd Ward. There's residents that have been there for a long time and the residents that have been there for like 6 months. And they are registered Democrats, but they don't know where to vote. That's a concerning factor. We know Greg Abbott is going to put millions of dollars here in Harris County to turn it red, but most importantly, the Republican National Convention. The Republican National Convention is coming here in Houston, Texas in 2028. So I want you all to register that in your mind. That's going to make a big difference. And we got to make sure we get folks as Democrat out there so we can come back what's happening, but most importantly, bring people to vote. That's the objective, of course, because all local politics starts at a very, very local level. Again, my name is Vernon Middleton Lewis. I'm running for precinct chair 140. That's in Riverside, Syracuse. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Reeder, and I am in Brazoria County. I'm running for state representative for House District 29. My seat is currently being held by an incumbent. It is a Republican seat, and if we're going to take control of the House and get our power back, we will need to flip some seats. Brazoria County is prime location. We have a lot of people moving into Brazoria County. The county is growing, and from what I've heard, Brazoria County is increasing in Democratic population. So if there is ever a time for us to win this House seat, it probably is now. So that is one of the reasons that I am running. I am not a politician. I am a regular person. I'm a mother. I'm an engineer. I'm a project manager. And that's pretty much who I am. But I do know I have common sense, and I know right from wrong, and I have morals and values, which is a lot more than I can say about the Republicans that have been leading this state for all this time. So what I would like to do is to be able to raise money, get your support tell your friends, share this information so that we can get more energy behind all of the Brazoria County Democrats that are running, because Brazoria County will be able to take us to the finish line. We have a Democrat on every single race. This is the first time in history that that has happened. Wow. So that is a monumental feat, and we have a coordinated effort to make sure that all of the candidates in Brazoria County have the support that they need. So thank you very much, and I hope that I can count on your support, and I look forward to being your next representative. Thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. All right. We're not going to hold you very much longer with that, but I thought with somebody asking Jeff and Ron and Dr. Shabazz and Dr. Douglas, they felt like with this panel that they'd like to be in the House because they knew that the audience would be valuable and that they'd be heard. So we appreciate that. And with that, Jeff, I'm going to throw it back to you, and let's get this done.
All right.
Thank you.
We're back, Trending Tuesdays. We got our live studio audience in the building. Here at the K. Davis Showroom Plus in the heart of Sunnyside, Houston, Texas. Have a great group of panels here and want to actually open it up here for Q&A. I know a lot of people have some burning questions, and so we want to give them an opportunity to do that. But before, as we're getting geared up for that, Dr. Douglas, what are your thoughts on, where we go from here with the 18th, particularly? I ain't telling you, don't say who to vote for. I'm just saying as far as encouraging and educating the voters.
Well, obviously, the 18th Congressional District is going to be an important district in Congress. All right? So one of the things that we have to do is we have to get involved, because no matter who represents us next January in Washington, D.C., as a community, we need to make sure that our views and our thoughts and our desires are made known to our representatives, because often what we don't do is we elect people and we just leave them. So we have to make sure that no matter who gets elected in November, that we get involved, we support them, but most importantly, we come together as a congressional district and decide what is in our best interest, not let the congressperson decide what's in our best interest.
Amen to that. Dr. Shabazz.
Well, one thing that gives me peace is at the end of the day, we have two great candidates for the 18th Congressional District. And so either way it goes, I have confidence that I, as a district council member, I can work with either gentleman. And that's important. Just as Al Green, he brought $1.5 million to Sunnyside for the Sunnyside Park. And Christian Menifee, who has fought environmental issues throughout his tenure as our county attorney. I feel good that at the end of the day, you hate to say you can't go wrong, but certainly I believe that the leadership of either is something that I can sleep at night about. And so I hate that we're in this position, because I could see them so strongly serving together. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. Yeah. And until we change the legislature to redraw those lines back, yeah, because hopefully that is an ultimate goal, that we take these seats and draw them back, then that's just what it is. And so, hopefully people won't feel any sense of shame. But what you don't know, please ask somebody. And if somebody asks you, please be very gentle with them, because people, they tend to shy away thinking that you're going to ridicule them. But somebody had to teach you at some point. So, be very kind and compassionate to those people who may not know. And I'm a former educator, retired, which is no such thing. So feel free, if you see me and you want to ask me, or you want to send me a message through Messenger or Facebook, because I answer all of that. I'm not hiding behind social media. So certainly, if you reach out to any of us in the best way that you know how, please feel free, because I'd rather you know and go and be an informed voter than one that decides to stay at home and not make a difference.
Only thing I would add is that when you look at the special election, the turnout was very dismal. We need to encourage people to vote. Their vote is their voice, and voter apathy is really rampant. A lot of people are checked out. A lot of people are just frustrated with the way things are. I mean, the economy is not great. People are struggling. You know, rent and housing is high, and insurance costs are going up. So, and Texas leads the nation with the highest number of uninsured. A lot of people don't have health care. So a lot of people are just checked out. And so what I think we should all encourage people to vote and make an informed decision about who they think would best represent the values that they share. And don't fall for, oh, he's too old or he's too young or anything else. Make your own decision. Trust, and then look at other organizations that you have or maybe in alignment with and see what they're saying. But do your own homework and then make a plan to vote. Early voting starts a week from today. It's on Tuesday. And one of the things I want to say, Jeff, is that Texas is one of the most difficult states to vote. We don't have online voter registration. Some states, you can, if you're not registered already, you can register on the day of election and vote. Texas is a state that tried to make it more difficult to vote while we make it easier to purchase a gun. You don't have to have a license to purchase a gun now, but you pretty much have to have a license to vote. Because if you don't have a license, or you don't have a concealed handgun license or some approved form of voter ID, then you won't be able to vote. If you have an expired driver's license, expired for X amount of time, you won't be able to vote. If you're a college student with a college ID that you used to be able to use to vote, you can't vote anymore. But if you have a concealed handgun license, you can vote. If you have a passport, means you're a person of means, you can use that to vote. So that should tell you about what they're trying to do and who they're trying to allow to vote. So yes, this is a critically important election, and I hope that people will stroll to the polls. If you're a woman I want to say this final thing. Black women, thank you. Black women have been the #1 voting demographic. I want to shout out and challenge all the brothers out there that we need to step our game up, because the sisters have helped save democracy, and we need more African American men to go and vote, because we're definitely on the menu. If we're not on the field, then they're trying to take away all kind of things for progress that has been made because of the struggle of our ancestors. So go vote.
And my sister lives in Nebraska, and her whole house votes by mail. Unbelievable, and nobody in her household is 65.
Yeah, and the representative will okay this. I live in the 18th. I live in District D. Both are predominantly African Americans. Both are Democratic. When you go to Austin, though, and you see the division between the House and the Senate and the numbers, we can continue to send our representative there. But if we don't turn some of these other districts, so it's not enough for us to be involved just in our districts. We got to get involved in other districts, because we have to turn some of these Republican districts, some of these white Republican districts, we got to turn them blue. Right. And until we do that, we're just talking among ourselves.
Well, we had a young lady earlier that said that she was trying to make that happen, in Brazoria. Karen, she said Karen Reeder. So I just want to say, I want to just let everybody know that Christian Menifee and Congressman Al Green are not the enemy. They are Democrat black men that are running to represent the 18th Congressional District. I want to repeat that. They are not the enemy. There are two black men who are Democrats who are wanting to represent the 18th Congressional District. So we don't need to see and hear the vitriol, the attacks, because of how old you are, how young you are, it ain't your time is up, all that stuff. The people have a voice, and it's called their vote.
That's right.
And the people must exercise their right to vote by getting their butts to the polls. Period. You decide who you want to represent you. If you don't like one of the candidates, that's fine. Vote. Get other people to vote. Tell them why they should vote. If you don't like the other one, vote. Get somebody to the polls to vote. But whatever the case may be, you need to vote. Because a non-vote is a vote in itself. When you don't exercise your right to vote, you're saying by virtue, whoever is elected, I'm okay with, because my vote don't matter. And that ain't the case. Your vote does matter. Your vote is your voice.
That's right.
And so I don't want us to go into this attacking each other, attacking the candidates. They put themselves out for service to you, the community. That's why so many people don't want to run for office. I remember somebody said, Jeff, when you running for office? I said, man, I'm running from office. I ain't running for nothing, because I understand and know the scrutiny, listen, and I'm dealing with it now, Councilwoman, State Rep. We deal with this on a daily. You can walk on water like Jesus, and it's going to be somebody that says because he can't swim.
Right.
I'm just trying to tell you. It's gonna be, we have another councilwoman in the audience, Annetta Murray. So I'm just saying, it's important for you to understand that we're putting ourselves out there to serve you. It's called being a public servant. And it's called public service. And so a lot of times people are politicians, and I heard the young lady say, I'm not a politician, but you're about to be. So get ready for that. But at the end of the day, if you forget the why, which is the people, then you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Right.
And both of those candidates, you cannot say that they're not for the people. Now it's up to you to decide who you want to represent you, period. Point blank, period, right? So please, my encouragement, no attacks. Oh, and I want to correct something from earlier. I said that Sylvester passed away in January. He was elected, started his service in January. He actually passed away in March. But I just wanted to make that point. I try to be accurate, as possible. But at the end of the day, that's the message, y'all. Vote, but make sure that you do it because you want that person to represent you. You believe this person best represents you. And I believe that you're not in any bad hands. Both of them are current congressmen.
Right.
So you get to choose between two congressmen. Man, that's a good deal, right? But I just want us to, when we approach it, let's not, they did this on purpose.
Yes.
They did this to divide us. So we don't need to take the bait. You know what I'm saying? We need to come together and the best man win. Well, there's two other women in that race too, in the primary. So may the best person win.
One of them withdrew. But she didn't withdraw.
Well, she's still on the ballot.
She suspended her campaign.
She's still on the ballot. So at the end of the day, when people go into that poll, they still get to vote for 4 people on that ballot. So I'm just saying that if your choices are Christian Menifee and or Congressman Al Green, my point of the matter is just let's not divide ourselves and divide our community and attack each other. Too much of that going on. There's an enemy, but it ain't them. It's the enemies in Austin, Texas, and his name is Greg Abbott. The enemy are the majority in the House and the majority of the Senate in Texas. The enemy is that gentleman, I ain't gonna even call him a gentleman, the person that's occupying the White House right now in DC. So we need to put our focus where it needs to be. And let's figure out how we can come together, everybody, in order to get things moving and change where we're going as a country. And we can do that. We have an election coming up in November, but we got to get past the primary first. All right, now we're going to open it up for Q&A. Where's my mic?
You got 2 mics. You got one over there.
You got 2 mics, okay.
You got one over here. If we can just spend
All right.
15 minutes, guys, just to get a few questions answered, and then we'll close.
When you guys are talking about this,
Turn your mic on. There you go.
I realized the significance of the 18th. It's Sheila Jackson Lee at the 18th was the one that would get the bus and would get everybody. You know, they would all the representatives seemed like they would get on one bus and go to the churches, right? Right.
Yeah, they would do that sometimes.
So okay. So my question is, see, it's when is there a reason why you haven't talked about the trauma of losing 2 people so close together that were like the foundation? It's like, I mean, it's like it's almost like we were for a season cursed. Not that, you know, that kept happening to us, especially since that was the core. That 18th is so historical, and we kept losing 2 historical people at the same time for the historical districts. So when I'm thinking about voting, I'm still traumatized by what just happened.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show in itself. And when we talk about trauma, we can talk about a whole lot of trauma, not just losing those 2, but I think that's a valid point to make. But, you know, I don't believe that we're cursed. Cancer is just an evil, you know, unsuspecting disease. And it's something that we have no control over. And so it just so happened to strike 2 individuals that were serving in the same seat. And it has 0 to do with their age, because cancer has no age limit. And so I just think that it's important that we focus on moving forward, and that we try our best to get healing and therapy if need be, in order to address the trauma that we've experienced.
And I also, this my youngest brother died recently. He was 11 years younger than me. And I basically said that at the funeral. Death has no age.
So he was 30. He was 31.
Yes.
All right. Next question.
Good evening. My name is Lanita Robinson. I'm Pure Justice. I would say, feeling today the weight of all that's going on, I can definitely feel it, especially now that I'm working with the type of environment that feels as though they have to micromanage us because we don't work when we really do, right? So my question, as I do work the polls, I'm an election worker. I'll be a judge for March 3rd. And the thing that I have recognized when people come in to vote, we have a lot of independents who candidate is running on a Democratic ticket. And when you come in to vote, it's going to ask you, do you vote Republican or Democrat? And whichever one you choose, that's the party you'll be affiliated for that year, right? So independents don't want to do that. They don't want to affiliate themselves with a party, which I think ultimately hurts the vote. I also believe their candidates who are independents running on Democratic tickets hurt the Democratic Party as a whole by not educating their independent voters on when you do the primary vote and why you do the primary vote. Thus, when your candidate loses, it's because you didn't get your independents to the polls to understand you're going to have to either vote Republican or Democratic. So my question is, how do we, as I'm a Democratic Party member, generational, how do we educate our voters so that they're not coming to the primary vote under the expectation they're going to just vote versus having to choose a party for your candidate?
Well,
a lot of people don't even understand what a primary is. And primary is either 2 Democratic or 2 Republicans running against each other. So understand that even when we go this time and vote unless it ends in a runoff. The next time will be in November. But this time, whoever won on the Democratic side will run against the Republican side. And so that, it's really confusing because we've had so many opportunities to go vote. But certainly, we have to educate people so that they understand the whole primary process. And certainly, you can't assume that because people are African American that they are Democratic. But in most cases, that is the case. But again, you need to identify with whichever party you think represents you and what you feel about how things should go. And hopefully, we will see how things are going, such as the state rep said. And that right there, knowing that eggs didn't go down and you can't afford your rent and you can't do that, are issues that are relevant to human beings. But certainly you have to look at those people who have a certain empathy for you to make sure that this life becomes, that you can have quality of life and live a great life to the best of your ability.
Go ahead.
When we talk about educating yourself, the most important time to educate yourself is in the primary, believe it or not. Because and I always tell people, don't ever go to the primary without having looked at a sample ballot. There are so many names on there. They might all be Democrat or they might all be Republican, but if you don't study that ballot and really get to know the people you're voting for, if you go in there and see the ballot for the first time on election day, you're going to be an uninformed voter. So the best way is just try to inform everybody that download a sample ballot, download a Republican ballot, download a Democratic ballot, and then decide where you want to vote. But don't ever go to the primary without having looked at a ballot.
Were you about to say something?
I was just going to add, I think the emphasis was on independence. An independent, if they don't want to declare a party, then they won't be able to vote in the primary, right? They won't be able to weigh in to decide if there's going to be, who's going to be the nominee for that party for the general election in November. So it's the same thing, like there's the general election in November, there's going to be more than just Democrat, Republican. It's going to be libertarians,
Constitution Party.
Yeah, so
Green
there's
Party.
the Green Party. But basically, this country, and some people argue about whether it's broken or not, but we have a two-party system for the most part. Every now and then, the independent will win, but that's the way our system is. Some people want to just scratch it, just like we have an electoral college. Some people want to go to a popular vote, where the majority wins across the country, as opposed to deciding different electoral college based on population. So I hear that argument too. There are some people who want to have an open primary, but that's the way it is until it's changed, unfortunately. And we do have to do more education so that people can be better informed voters.
So every party can actually hold their own primary elections. However, they're very costly. And so traditionally, you have the two larger parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, who hold primaries. That's how they determine who is going to be their one choice for each position, if they have one, to represent them in the general election, which is the first Tuesday of November. So the thing about it is, some of these parties, like I said, like you mentioned, the Green Party and the Constitution Party and Libertarians, they don't have the money, because I know I just filed a run for Fort Bend County Treasurer, and it cost me $1,250 that I had to pay to the party. You had to pay to the party.
Yes, sir.
We all pay to the party, and the party pays to the county or to the respective counties to hold primary elections in their counties. So it all costs. And so that's why you don't see people that are not declared Democrats or Republicans, voting in those elections, because they don't want to associate or affiliate themselves or be known as I voted as a Democrat or I voted as a Republican. So you don't have to vote at all. If you don't like any of the Democrat, now if you like some of the Democratic or Republican candidates, then, well, if you like all the Democratic candidates, then you then you vote in the Democratic primary. But you don't have to vote at all until November. You can wait till November, which a lot of people do.
Let me just say this real quick. A lot of people don't realize that because of gerrymandering, that primary winner usually is over with.
Right.
Like I can say, not boastfully, but based on the demographics of my seat, are the 18th, because we're talking about the 18th, regardless of who's on the ballot in November as a Republican, the Democrat is going to win because it's overwhelmingly Democrat based on the way it's drawn. There's some different districts the other way around. So if you didn't weigh in the primary, then you really didn't weigh in on who the winner is going to be, because the winner or the loser was pretty much decided in the March primary.
And a lot of people want to weigh in on the primary because they don't want a weak candidate going up against the opposition in November. So if you don't vote in the primary, you could just have anybody. There was one year where the Democratic nominee for one of our positions was a LaRouche Democrat.
Yep.
And a LaRouche Democrat, she wanted to,
Keisha Rogers.
Keisha Rogers. She wanted to impeach Obama.
Yep.
She wanted to get rid of everything that Democrats stood for, mostly, that would impact, people like us, people of color, and et cetera. And she was black. She was a black woman.
It was a sister.
And she was a LaRouche Democrat that had anti-democratic views, but that's just the nature of being Lyndon LaRouche, I think his name. But anyway, nonetheless, you want to chime in on the primary because what's his name, Hinojosa, the chair at the time of the Texas Democratic Party, had to put out a statement telling Democrats and people, don't vote for her. Vote for all the other Democrats, but don't vote for this one.
Now, and we have to remember, African Americans couldn't always vote in the primary.
Sure couldn't.
Right.
It took Smith versus Allwright, which is a famous lawsuit.
Yep.
They gave us a right to vote in the Democratic primary, and our argument was, back then, the Democrats won everything. So voting in the general election didn't make any difference because the decision had already been made in the primary. All right, so primary voting is very important. We fought.
Yep.
There was a famous lawsuit, Smith versus Allwright, took place, came out of Houston, Texas, NAACP.
Fort Bend County.
Right.
Y'all know it was whites only primaries up until the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't forget the poll tax.
And the literacy test.
Yeah.
Hi. My question is, what is the strategy to reach the non-African American Democratic voters or the non-African American Republican voters that will need to flip some seats or just reach out to them, Mexican, Hispanics, the whites, the Asians? Do we have a collective strategy? And if so, what is that?
I think there's a strategy, and I think that strategy is further being refined in terms of the party platform. I think that there's two ways you look at it. A lot of times the leadership comes from the national, the DNC, the chair of Ken Martin is the national DNC chair, and then in Texas, Democratic Party chair Kendall Scudder is working on a pretty good strategy. And then you have your county party chairs. So it depends on where it is. Sometimes it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but I think that we're refining what those platform and policies can be to reach others. A lot of times it could be an economic message because of what we're seeing in this economy. And a lot of times people are saying that's what happened, that Trump did a better job on the economic issue, which was all lies, but he sold a good bill of goods. Then we were defined with trans bathroom issues. They defined the vice president, which was BS, but she didn't do a good job of defending her position at the time.
And soft on crime.
Yeah, and soft on crime. So we do need to think about a broader message to appeal to a broader base, and that's what happens when you pivot to the general election.
Two more.
Okay, I want to give a special shout out to Ecclesia Morris, who represented Pure Justice in the lawsuit to help get additional voting days for CD18.
Yeah.
Okay, and so my question is, why is it that Abbott is not getting all of the heat that he deserves for what he did to CD18? I see Congressman Al Green is being blamed for being, they're saying he's too old and we should vote for this person. Christian Benford, he's coming in and he's getting, everybody's getting heat and it's a division in the party. But why is it that Abbott did not get the heat that he deserves?
Well, I think Abbott got the heat.
Well, I don't know. One of the things that you have to understand is black folks always are going to protest and speak up and out on things that impact us. And there's a lot, constantly. And one of the things that many have learned to do over the years is, just let them vent. Let them march, let them protest, let them get out, let off steam, and it'll just go away over time. And so I think that, well, first of all, this ain't the first time he done something that's got people upset and mad and pissed off. And so I believe there have been a lot of people that have spoken out prior to and since the decision that he just basically cowered to Trump to give him what he wanted, to kiss the ring, if you will. And we're here now. And so there's nothing we can do about it except try to fight it legally through the courts. But there are multiple lawsuits going on, not only with this recent, but even from the 2021, that hadn't even been decided on. Correct me if I'm wrong, State Rep. So right now the key is, how do you deal with a bully? You got to hit them in the mouth. That's the only way to do it. Otherwise, they're gonna keep taking your lunch money and bullying you in school. Some of y'all may have been bullies in school. I don't know, but I'm saying y'all know what a bully looks like, and that's the only way you're gonna deal with a bully is by standing up to him and punching them in the mouth.
But Jeff, I do want to add just quickly to something that Joy said, and I want to thank Pure Justice for their leadership.
Yes.
But one thing I do hear is that people say, well, yeah, Sylvester knew he was sick. It's his fault. And are you right? Al should do the honorable thing and step down because we don't need to be in the same position we were. So what she's saying, it's a false narrative, but perception is reality. And to the sister right here, there's a lot of trauma based on having back-to-back deaths. Congresswoman and then Sylvester Turner. What are the odds that would happen like that in such a, like back-to-back like that? So I do think that we do need to be more impactful in our messaging to make sure that we place the blame where it is. President Trump and Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and those MAGA extremists that made that decision, right? So I think that's a good point. The other point that is, we, unfortunately, Jeff, to your point you making earlier, we have to stop allowing division within ourselves because some people are saying, well, they're to support their candidate, they're making that argument of why this person should step down because of what happened with Sheila and Sylvester. So they're using a false narrative, but it's hidden like where people are still hurting and as justification of why this person shouldn't be running based on their age when age doesn't determine a person's cancer. I've seen 10 teenagers die from cancer. So I think that Joy made a good point, and that's where all of us have to be ambassadors to push back on disinformation and misinformation, because social media runs rampant with these conspiracy theories. And I get it, you're passionate about your candidate, but don't bring misinformation in to push up your candidate. Run on the issues. But I've heard so many people say, well, he's sick because he has that cane and he's going to die, so why should he be running? Literally. I'm not even making this stuff up. I've heard so many people say that. Where'd you get that from? Well, I heard it. Like, Like, he doesn't even need that cane. So,
And he tells everybody why he has it.
It's sad that this is what some people do. And I've had people argue me down on Facebook, like, you should be ashamed of yourself for what you're doing because we're in this position because they were selfish. No, we're in this position because of President Trump and Governor Abbott.
Right.
That's why we're in this position.
And I want to say this too, because this is an important point to make. And, you know, a lot of people wanted Sheila to step away and hand over the reins to Amanda Edwards. And she did not. And both Amanda and Sheila they were the choices. And the people chose Sheila. Right?
Right.
She had her opportunity to convince voters to vote for her over Sheila. The voters chose Sheila. For whatever reason, that's who they chose. Fast forward, she's given another opportunity to prove herself to the voters. And they chose Christian over Amanda. Prior to that, you know, although it wasn't an election with the full community, the precinct chairs, who you all elect, by the way, y'all elected precinct chairs, they chose Sylvester over Amanda. So all of the opportunities to be chosen were there 3 times. And 3 times, twice the community, once the precinct chairs chosen by the community chose someone other than Amanda Edwards. The point that I'm only making with that is we can't keep trying to act like somebody is anointed to be the person. The people decide. The people are the ones that make the decision.
That's right.
And so we can't just keep putting somebody there and saying that they the one and they supposed to be the one. No. When you ran the first time against Dora Olivo, you lost by how many votes?
Like 157?
157 votes. They didn't choose him the first time. But guess what? He came back and ran the next time, and he won, and he's been the state rep ever since. What?
Ron, to tell you this is true. When Ron ran the first time, he came to me and said, I want your support. I said, man. I said, Dora has been good to me.
Yeah.
True story.
You can't lose. Because I got to go back to Austin. If Dora beats you,
and he lost.
You know, and I'm not a person that holds grudges, but sometimes we need to hold a grudge. And we do need to remember what the occupant of the White House is and has done, what Greg Abbott has done. And we cannot be temporarily outraged. And we have to use that outrage to turn into a strategy. And so certainly, don't forget, you know, we are really just, and when I say we, I'm African Americans, you know, we're pretty compassionate.
Yeah.
And we are very forgiving for some of the things that did happen that we know were travesties to us as Black people. But certainly do not forget what they have done and what they are continuing to do. And day by day, the stories are becoming more and more horrific. So don't be temporarily outraged.
Yeah. Hold on to that grudge.
Sometimes you got to hold on.
We got one more question, but I do want to also remind you all that your favorite president, Barack Obama, decided to run against Bobby Rush and got slaughtered.
Yes, he did.
right.
He got slaughtered. So he lost that election
For Congress.
for Congress badly. But he lost badly in an election that he ran against an incumbent that had been there. The people will always decide. Next question.
I'm so surprised he kept going on. My name is Ornetta Murray. I'm a council member in the city of Iowa Colony. And one question that I have, and me being an educator, for the panel, what do you go tell the people here to do for homework? I love everything you're saying. You're absolutely correct. One thing I do want to say is that we need to teach the voters, and I said this, whether we win or lose, you got to vote. Sometimes we give up because it doesn't go our way. But you got to still fight no matter what. I'll say this, and I'm I'm done. I love everybody running for office, but I've always said this: what were you doing before you ran for office? What did we see you before you decided to run? You got to do something before you run, not just decide I'm popping up and run. You got to do the work, and whether you win or lose, you got to what? Do the work. Thank you.
All right.
I think that's a great question. Let me start out by saying I love Arnetta Murray. She's always in the community doing the work, and an educator as well. One of the things I want to say to the audience, and this would apply to all of us, is that we got to be the change that we want to see. If it is to be, it's up to me. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? Also, we got to remember, ain't no saviors. Nobody coming to save us. I can't tell you how many times I hear people saying, I'm waiting for the next Malcolm or Martin or Obama or this or that. No, we got to be the change. We got to be the ones. And so we have a collective responsibility to be the change that we want to see. And the change starts with us. Every one of us doing our part. And I want to leave you with a quote from Dr. King that life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? I think that's a call that every one of us has to answer. What are you doing? Because we always want to put it on, what is Carolyn, she needs to be doing this, Douglas needs to do that, Jeff, or you're pointing fingers, but you never point back in your own direction. What are you doing? How are you helping make your communities better? Instead of always playing armchair quarterback, complaining about, oh, I would have did this way, I would have did that way. This ain't right, that ain't right. Ain't no perfect, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, we all sin and fall short. But how are you making a difference? How are you paying it forward? That is the true question, and all of us got to do our part to pay it forward for the next generation. All of us stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. What are we doing now that we got the baton? And what are we doing to make it better for the next generation?
Well, my mantra is, if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then my living shall not be in vain. But I'm going to say, do not think that your circle of influence is not important. You may not be on the front lines, you may not be attending all of the meetings, but each and every one of you has a following, whether you know it or not. People are looking at you and looking to you to get direction on what they need to do. So never think that you're not important in this process, regardless of whether you are named on TV or newspaper or whatever the case may be. You have a circle of influence in your own families, in your own churches, in your own communities. So always speak in a manner that you think people are listening, because they are, and use your circle of influence to make the change.
Dr. Douglas, closing thought.
And you have to remember, every leader started out just like you. I remember when Sheila couldn't win an election.
Joe could.
All right.
Sylvester.
And you just remember Obama. People always talk about King being a leader. He was just a young 28, 29-year-old minister when the bus boycott got started. Malcolm was in prison. I mean, people don't understand. I remember I was in Washington at the Congressional Black Caucus, and I was with 5 or 6 national figures. And when I got back to campus, some of the students who were there, they said, teach us how to meet these important people. I said, all these people you saw me with, no one was important when we met each other. So you all always think you walk into the kingdom and you meet the king. No, we all started out down here.
Yeah.
You have to, so it's you can be that if you're willing to do the work. And I would say, I have a friend, and I remember before the election he was saying, if this man wins, I'm leaving the country. And so one day he asked me, why is it you don't seem to be that disturbed? And I said, because in the back of my mind, I keep reminding myself how well off I am. He said, what do you mean? I said, I keep reminding myself and thinking, how did the former slaves feel when they pulled the troops out after Reconstruction? We are much better along, and we have a lot more to work with. So if they were able to achieve all that they achieved, we don't have any excuses.
Yes. Let's give it up, y'all, for Dr. James Douglas, Houston City Councilwoman Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz, and my state representative, Ron Reynolds, state representative. All right, y'all. I want you to like, hit, subscribe, the Trending Tuesdays button on YouTube, and make sure you tune in for all of the episodes. Go back and watch some of the older ones. This is episode, I want to say, 36. So 36, I probably have done 32 of them. I mean, it seems like, but it's been a joy, and I'm happy to be back, man. It's good to see y'all. Let's give it up for our in-studio audience and all of you that have been watching. I'm gonna turn it over to Danette so we can talk about this food, this good food that we're about to eat.
You know it. Okay, thank you. I want to thank the guests. You guys were excellent. We know you guys are out there fighting for us every day, and we thank you, all of us too. And I thank your audience for coming, what have you. And I do want to say we're K. Davis in the community, and one of the things we say, mind, body, and spirit is where we're at. Mind, what have you, education, and those kind of things. Body, your health and wellness, and then spirit. We talk about art and things like that. That's why you see all this art around you. We have performance arts and we have things like that we do all the time because that's what we need to be whole. So our chef, who's an organic chef and happens to be my husband, is going to tell you about the food that we have. We always make sure that you have a little reception after and you can eat and talk to these wonderful folk who just got through talking to you, as well as the other folk that are here. And it's good for you and good to you. We got a little spirits and what have you, if you need that. I know it's late, but, another 30 minutes, y'all will be all right. Okay, this is Edwin, Chef Eddie.
Hey, you guys, welcome to another Trending Tuesdays podcast. We're always happy to have you in the house. And this has been a experiment in growth for myself, and I enjoy the challenges of preparing healthy meals for you guys. So consequently, for tonight's menu, I was able to round up some marinated lamb chop loins. We did some black-eyed peas, some organic black-eyed peas, did some jasmine rice. We've got some organic collard greens with no pork in them, all kinds of herbs and things, and we've got some Swiss chard and sardines. And one of my favorite salads is on the table is the spinach salad with mustard Dijon dressing and beets and sweets, we call it. So we've got some choices for you, and enjoy.
And with that, thank you. All right, good night.
Every Tuesday we're setting the tone. Latest trends, let it be known. Voices rising, stories unfold. Thought-provoking, fresh and bold. From the mic to the movement we bring. Conversations that matter, hear wisdom sing. Insight, purpose, food for the soul.